So you're a libertarian, and you don't believe the propaganda about government awesomeness you were subjected to in 4th grade. You want real history and economics. Well, learn in your car from professors you can trust with Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. And if you join through the Liberty Classroom link at scotthorton.org, we'll make a donation to support the Scott Horton Show. Liberty Classroom, the history and economics they didn't teach you.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. I'm Scott Horton. My website is scotthorton.org. You can find all my interview archives there. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at /Scott Horton Show. And sorry, Phyllis, for leaving you on hold there. Phyllis Bennis is next up on the show. She's a fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies. She's the author of Challenging Empire, How People, Governments, and the UN Defy U.S. Power. And she's got this piece at Al Jazeera, Challenging Einstein, Kerry's New Diplomacy in the Middle East. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Great to be with you.
Good. Very happy to have you here. Very important piece here. I really hope people will go and take a look at it again at aljazeera.com, Challenging Einstein. And it's about our new Secretary of State.
Actually, aljazeera.net, sorry.
Oh, it's actually both now. The fraudulent Al Jazeera at .com has finally surrendered the domain name, apparently.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So, yeah, it's either way, I believe.
All right.
Same address. There you go. But yeah, you're right. There was a fake Al Jazeera for a long, long time there at .com. All right. Now, this is about our new Secretary of State, John Kerry, and his newly taking up the cudgels of the peace process there in Palestine. And basically, you're asking me to not expect too much. And so I guess I'll ask you, why are they even bothering with this? Why do they keep making an issue out of Israel-Palestine? Ever since day one of the Obama administration, they've made such a big issue out of this and then refused to do anything about it at all. Phyllis, I don't understand.
Well, it is a very big issue. The real question is your second one. Why haven't they done anything about it? We keep hearing about, oh, my God, Obama is pressuring Israel. Oh, my God, he's throwing Israel under a bus. Well, there was no bus. There was no pressure.
Right.
No. Now, the big question for Kerry is what's he thinking? He's somebody who knows this issue well, from his 28 years, whatever it was, on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, chairing it for the last God knows how long. He knows this stuff. He knows that the Arab Peace Initiative, which is his latest thing, this is what's new. He says, well, we're going to go back to the Arab Peace Initiative from 2002. Well, that's kind of interesting. That talks about what the part you'll hear from Kerry, the part you'll hear from the U.S., is normalizing relations between Israel and all the Arab states. That means trade, diplomatic relations, everything, and declaring once and for all an end to the conflict, meaning once this is decided, nobody gets to come back and say, well, there's this other issue we didn't resolve. So that's all good. The problem for Israel, and the problem, therefore, for the United States, is that it says that all that only happens once Israel has fully withdrawn, the word is full withdrawal, from all the territories it occupied in 1967, meaning all of the West Bank, all of Gaza, and all of Arab East Jerusalem. So all those 600,000 or so settlers, they have to, either leave or become Palestinian citizens? Because if we're going to have two states, which is, once again, the U.S. line, it's always said as one word, two-state solution with swaps. Two-state solution with swaps. Which
Right.
means a two-state solution, which everybody agrees isn't really possible anymore given what's happened with the settlements, but we'll have, quote, swaps.
So in other words, they're saying, let's do the Saudi peace plan, where you guys abide by your side of the Saudi peace plan, but our side completely changes into we get to do whatever we want.
We're going to just tinker with the Saudi peace plan, and we're going to say that the Arab states have to give Israel everything the original Saudi peace plan called for, meaning normalization, but we're going to just tweak it just a little bit. We're not really changing anything, but we're just tweaking a little bit. So we'll put on this issue of, quote, swaps, and we'll say that both sides have to agree, which means both sides have a veto. So the Palestinians don't have to agree to it, and the Israelis don't have to agree to it. And there's no reason the Israelis should, because we go back to the pressure, the bus. There is no bus. There is no pressure. There's no reason in the world that Israel should say, oh, well, I guess the U.S. is more serious this time around. I guess we better think about doing something to end the settlements, at least freeze the settlements. No reason in the world they should do that. The other part of the Kerry announcement was that there was going to be this four-country summit Well, that's always good. Summits put pressure on. The press all go, and then they want a story. So there's all kinds of pressure that comes from a summit. But what a surprise. You may have noticed, Scott, you heard that about 2 weeks ago, the same time that Kerry started talking about the Arab Peace Initiative. He was talking about this four-party summit. But you know what? We haven't heard anything about it since then. Because guess what? The Israelis said, oh, no, we don't think so. We're not going to any summit with all these Arabs. And that's the end of that. So we haven't heard any more about it. So the big question we come back to, and I don't know the answer, is what are they thinking? What's their deal? Why do they think that just putting it all back on the agenda is somehow going to change the scenario without changing anything about what the U.S. is willing or not willing to do to pressure its key ally? So as long as we're continuing to pay that $30 billion agreement that we have with Israel, to pay them for straight military aid, and Obama has now said that he's going to raise that for the next 10 years, beyond $30 billion. He wants to get it up to something like $37 billion. As long as they're doing that and nobody's touching it, as long as they're continuing to support Israel in the United Nations and make sure that Israel is never held accountable for any potential violations of international law, any war crimes, anything, why should the Israelis change? The request can come as often as we like. Please stop building settlements. Answer, no. Pretty please stop building settlements? No. And then they stop asking. When we'll start seeing a different answer, this is the old Einstein theory. Einstein's theory of the definition of insanity was to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. What will challenge the Einstein theory, what will make it a different question, is when the U.S. says, please stop building settlements. The Israelis say no, and the U.S. answer then is, okay, you're an independent country, you can do what you want, but that $30 billion we're paying you in military aid? You can kiss that goodbye. And the $37 billion or so that we're going to be promising you for the next 10 years? We're not doing that. And you know how we always protect you at the UN so you're never really held accountable for anything you might do? Nope, we're not doing that anymore either. That's what pressure begins to look like. That's when we might see a different response because we might have been doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so far we're not seeing it.
I can certainly agree that if you were president, then we would see some real changes in Israeli policy.
If I was president, we'd have some serious problems. Let's not even go there.
But MJ, and this is just in the realm of fantasy and counterfactual, whatever, I don't know. But MJ Rosenberg said that he believed, and he had sources in Israel telling him this, that in 2009, even short of those kind of threats, that really just with the stature of George Mitchell and the bigness of the Cairo speech and all that, without threatening to withhold anything or really do anything, that they really were making Israel look and feel like they were looking bad and better do what they were told, and that Netanyahu was prepared to capitulate, and then Obama backed down first. Obama blinked first.
Well, there's no question Obama blinked first. I'm not so convinced that Netanyahu or anybody else in Israel thought it was going to be any different in early 2009. I love MJ, and he has good sources, and he's a good analyst, but I'm not sure he's right on this one. I think there may have been.
In other words, they weren't even close to giving
happen.
in. You're saying the Israelis
I don't think so, because I don't think there was ever a moment when they were pushed to do so. The problem with Senator Mitchell. Senator Mitchell's appointment, which, as you remember, was just the first day after Obama took office, right after his inauguration, and that seemed to bode really well for taking seriously a new Israeli-Palestinian agreement of some sort. Here's a guy who's known for being very independent. He's old enough. He was, at the time, I think 76 or 77. This was the end of his career. He wasn't looking for, what was going to be his next job and who could he not afford to piss off or something. He could afford to be completely independent. He was known from his work on the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. He was known for being independent and tough. And he also had said, very importantly, that in the Irish context, if you're serious about diplomacy, everybody has to be at the table. You can't withhold the right to participate from anybody because you think they're a terrorist or whatever. And he said very clearly, it's not because you have to like everybody there. You just have to be clear that if everybody's not at the table, the supporters of the ones who are excluded are not going to feel any obligation to abide by whatever agreement you reach. So it's not going to work. It's a matter of pragmatism. So we all thought, well, that sounds good. Maybe he'll apply that to the Israel-Palestine issue. He was never allowed to do so. He was never given the authority, just as Hillary Clinton in her work as Secretary of State wasn't given the authority. Whether she would have done it is a different issue. But it wasn't part of her brief. Whether Kerry is going to be able to hold on to this after this next month or so, I think is a big question. I think it's a very big question. But without a clear willingness to bring pressure to bear on Israel, there's simply no reason why the Israelis should change their position.
Right. And by the way, you pointed out that $30 billion thing. That's the appropriation, or at least the promised appropriation for 10 years out, where the Constitution forbids the Congress from financing our own military for more than 2 years at a time. We can go ahead and make promises to Israel's military 10 years out for $30 billion worth of planes and bombs.
That's a very important point, Scott. And I think it's not only the question of the unconstitutionality of it, but it's also a question of money. $30 billion is not chump change. And what's incredible right now is that the pro-Israel lobbies led by AIPAC are actually on a campaign in the Congress to get members of Congress, both the House and the Senate, to agree that they will not allow the requirements of the sequester that imposes cuts of about 5% on everything across the board, the entire federal budget. But they're claiming that while Head Start programs are being cut and cancer care is being cut and food aid for the elderly is being cut, that aid to the Israeli military should be sacrosanct and should not be cut at all. And what's astonishing is the chutzpah of these people in Congress who are looking to do it. They've actually introduced a resolution that would allow them to do just that, to exempt aid to Israel from the cuts that are being imposed across the board on all the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, and the thing of it is, too, that, and I know I can speak for the American people in general on this, unless they've decided to take a particular interest in trying to read something and sort out who's who at least a little bit, they don't know anything about the permanent occupation of the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem, the siege of Gaza. TV will never, ever, ever tell it. Not even a character in a TV drama will ever explain it. Ever.
Well, I would say, though, Scott, and maybe it's the hopeless optimism in me. God knows where it comes from. Working on this issue, I shouldn't have any. But I would say that the discourse in this country, including the press, has indeed changed dramatically over the last decade. It isn't anywhere near what it needs to be to counteract the decades before of absolute false propaganda, but it is very different than it used to be. You have mainstream articles being written by mainstream journalists in mainstream papers. The Washington Post, arguably the most pro-Israel of the major national dailies. Mm-hmm. There's a reporter on their team named Walter Pincus. Good reporter, but sort of old school, inside the box investigative reporter, does a lot of stuff, the federal budget, the kind of stuff. He's written like 5 pieces over the last year challenging the very notion of military aid to Israel. And what's fascinating about it is the sky doesn't fall. They take it as a matter of course. He's not getting fired. There's to be an elder who's complaining about it, but it's taken as a normal part of discourse now. That's huge. We see it in the lack of ability of AIPAC, which still had a huge amount of money to throw around and threaten members of Congress that if they don't toe the line on Israel, they face the possibility of a very well-funded opponent next round. But they don't any longer, if they ever did, bring to the table the votes of American Jews. You saw that in the elections in 2008 and 2012, when all the time leading up to the elections, you had this scenario where all the pro-Israel forces operating in the Jewish community and those in the Christian Zionist community as well were saying, don't vote for Barack Obama. He's not good enough on Israel. He's too soft on terrorism. He's not good for Israel. He's not good for Israel. He's not good for Israel. But what a surprise, at the end of the day, in 2008, 78% of American Jewish voters voted for Barack Hussein Obama. It was slightly less in 2012, but very much the same, very close to the same proportion. Mm-hmm. So, the ability to come with money is one thing. That's still, unfortunately, way too important in our society. But being able to come to the table with money and votes gives you a lot more clout. They can't do that anymore. That's huge. That's absolutely huge.
All right, and I know you need to go, and we're just starting to have some phone trouble again with this thing, so we'll have to leave it here. But thank you so much for the great interview. It's great to talk to you again, Phyllis.
Thank you, Scott. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. All right, that's Phyllis Bennis. She's at AlJazeera.com here with Challenging Einstein, Kerry's new diplomacy in the Middle East. And, yeah, scare quotes around new there. Challenging Einstein. Phyllis Bennis, of course, at the Institute for Policy Studies. Hey y'all, Scott here. Like I told you before, the Future Freedom Foundation at FFF.org represents the best of the libertarian movement. Led by the fearless Jacob Hornberger, FFF writers James Bovard, Sheldon Richman, Wendy McElroy, Anthony Gregory, and many more write the op-eds and the books, host the events, and give the speeches that are changing our world for the better. Help support the Future Freedom Foundation. Subscribe to their magazine, The Future of Freedom. Or to contribute, just look for the big red donate button at the top of FFF.org. Peace and freedom. Thank you. Hey, all, Scott Horton here, inviting you to check out WallStreetWindow.com. It's a financial blog written by former hedge fund manager Mike Swanson, who's investing in commodities, mining stocks, and European markets. Wall Street Window is unique in that Mike shows people what he's really investing in and updates you when he buys or sells in his main account. Mike thinks his positions are going to go up because of all the money the Federal Reserve is printing to finance the deficit. See what happens at WallStreetWindow.com. And Mike's got a great new book coming out, so also keep your eye on writerMichaelSwanson.com for more details. Oh, man, I'm late. Sure hope I can make my flight.
Stand there.
Me? I am standing here.
Come here.
Okay.
Hands up, turn around.
Whoa, easy.
Into the scanner. Ooh, what's this in your pants?
Hey, slow down. It's just my...
Hold it right there. Your wallet has tripped the metal detector. What's this? The Bill of Rights?
That's right. It's just a harmless stainless steel business card-sized copy of the Bill of Rights from SecurityEdition.com. There for exposing the TSA as a bunch of liberty-destroying goons who've never protected anyone from anything. Sir, now give me back my wallet and get out of my way. Got a plane to catch.
Have a nice day.
Play a leading role in the security theater with the Bill of Rights Security Edition from SecurityEdition.com. It's the size of a business card, so it fits right in your wallet, and it's guaranteed to trip the metal detectors wherever the police state goes. That's SecurityEdition.com. And don't forget their great Fourth Amendment socks.
Hey guys, I got his laptop.
Man, you need some Liberty stickers for the back of your truck. At LibertyStickers.com, they've got great state hate, like Pearl Harbor was an inside job. The Democrats want your guns. U.S. Army, die for Israel. Police brutality, not just for black people anymore. And government school, why you and your kids are so stupid. Check out these and 1,000 other great ones at LibertyStickers.com. And of course, they'll take care of all your custom printing for your band or your business at TheBumperSticker.com. That's LibertyStickers.com. Everyone else's stickers suck. Hey y'all, Scott Horton here for the Council for the National Interest at councilforthenationalinterest.org. CNI stands against America's negative role in the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the war party's relentless push to bomb Iran, and the roles played by twisted Christian Zionism and neocon-engineered Islamophobia in justifying it all. The Council for the National Interest works tirelessly to expose and oppose our government's most destructive policies, but they can't do it without you. Support CNI's push to straighten out America's crooked course. Check out the Council for the National Interest at councilforthenationalinterest.org and click Donate under About Us at the top of the page. That's councilforthenationalinterest.org.